Every country is broke. Every country is in debt. But somehow, everyone is still getting paid. The world owes $320 trillion. That's 3 times all the money that exists. So here's the question that breaks everything. If everyone owes, who exactly gets paid? Debt is ancient. Every civilization tried the same trick. Borrow now, worry later. And every civilization learned the same lesson. Debt always wants control. 5,000 years ago in Mesopotamia, farmers borrowed grain from neighbors with simple promises. Pay me back after harvest, maybe with a little extra. No banks, no contracts, just trust. But debts became so crushing that ancient kings had to declare debt jubilees, total forgiveness, just to prevent society from collapsing. Medieval kings were terrible at paying back. England's Edward III borrowed $1.5 billion from Italian banks in the 1340s, then just didn't pay. It crashed Europe's financial system. Philip IV of France went further. He arrested his creditors, the Knights Templar, in 1307. Debt erased, problem solved. Everything changed in 1688. England's parliament stripped the king's financial control and said, "From now on, borrowing happens in the name of the nation, not the crown." In 1694, the Bank of England began selling the world's first government bonds. Ordinary citizens could lend money to their country, earn interest, and actually feel patriotic doing it. But this system had one limit: gold. Every dollar had to be backed by actual gold reserves. Until 1971, when one president changed everything. President Nixon announced the US would no longer exchange dollars for gold. The Nixon shock ended the gold standard forever. For decades, every dollar was backed by gold. $35 could be exchanged for 1 ounce, locked in Fort Knox. This kept governments disciplined. But after World War II, America spent massively on the Vietnam War, welfare programs, and global reconstruction. By 1971, the US had printed so many dollars that foreign countries, especially France, started demanding their gold back. French President Charles de Gaulle was particularly aggressive, converting $191 million into gold in 1965 alone. He literally sent warships to New York to collect French gold from American vaults. Other countries followed. So Nixon said, "No more." Money became fiat currency. It exists simply because the government says so. The result? In 1971, global debt was just a few $trillion. By 2000, $80 trillion. Today, $320 trillion. A 31,400% increase in 50 years. So, who holds all this debt? This is where it gets weird. The answer isn't China or some shadowy elite. It's something much more circular and mundane. The answer is you. And you're also the one who owes it. Here's how the trap works. Let's zoom in on the United States, the world's most indebted nation, owing $36 trillion. Roughly 70% of US debt is owed to Americans themselves. The US borrows from the US. Let me show you exactly what happens to your money. You deposit $1,000 in your bank. Your bank doesn't keep that cash in a vault. They immediately lend it to the US government by buying treasury bonds. The government spends that $1,000 on roads, military social programs, whatever. The government pays your bank interest on those bonds. Your bank gives you a tiny slice of that interest as your savings account return. Where does the government get money to pay that interest? From your taxes. Here's the insane part. You pay taxes, arrow government pays interest, arrow. Your bank gets paid, arrow. You get paid. You're paying yourself with your own money. Through the government. It's a financial snake eating its own tail. But who holds all this debt? About $7 trillion of US debt is held by its own government agencies and trust funds, meaning the government literally owes money to its own programs. The largest single piece of that is the Social Security Trust Fund, which alone holds over $2.7 trillion. That means your retirement checks are literally backed by government I owe us. It's in your pension, your bank, your insurance, your retirement. But it's not just national. About 30% of US debt is held overseas. Japan owns $1.1 trillion of US debt. China owns $816 billion. Even tiny countries, with populations smaller than some cities, own massive pieces of the US government. And And here's where it gets circular. America owns $7.86 trillion in foreign debt from other countries. Japan owns Chinese debt. China owns Japanese debt. It's financial musical chairs where everyone owes everyone else. Global debt doesn't disappear. It just changes hands. So, who actually gets paid? Here's the final answer to the question that started everything. Nobody gets paid, and everybody gets paid. The system only works because everyone agrees to keep playing. Therefore, the entire $320 trillion global financial system runs on one single thing: trust. As long as everyone believes everyone else will pay, the money keeps circulating. The snake keeps eating its tail. The game continues. But what happens if a country decides to stop playing? Simple question. One country actually tried it. What happened next destroyed an entire generation. Greece, 2010. Investors panicked and stopped buying Greek bonds. The money tap shut off. No one would lend Greece another cent. The European Union made an offer: accept brutal spending cuts or collapse entirely. They called it austerity. Here's what it actually meant. 1 in 4 public workers were fired. Wages fell by 30%. GDP shrank by 25% in just 5 years. 200,000 young Greeks left the country. College graduates became waiters in Berlin. Engineers drove Ubers in London. Parents watched their children board planes, knowing they might never come back. The economy didn't recover for an entire decade. A generation was lost. And here's the cruelest twist. Greece's debt didn't even go down. It went up. Because when your economy collapses, you collect less in taxes, which means you need to borrow even more just to survive. The lesson: you can't just stop. The machine breaks. But sometimes it's not about growth. It's about survival. When COVID-19 hit in 2020, people stopped spending and the economy shut down. Governments faced the same nightmare Greece did, but everywhere, all at once. Do nothing and then watch economies collapse, or borrow unthinkable amounts to keep people alive. Every country made the same choice. That year, the US government borrowed an astonishing $3.8 trillion, nearly 20% of the entire economy. Japan borrowed $1 trillion. China borrowed $1.2 trillion. But debt has a cost: interest. Every year, the US writes a check for over $1 trillion. Not building schools, not fixing roads, not curing diseases. Just paying interest on old loans. That's more than the entire defense budget. Money that could change lives instead pays back banks. And here's the trap. To pay back old debt, they borrow more. The debt never leaves. It just cycles. As long as the economy grows faster than the debt. This actually works. Countries like Norway and Singapore have managed debt brilliantly for decades. The problem? Most countries aren't Norway. For developing nations, it's a death trap. In 2022, 53 countries were spending more on debt repayment than on healthcare. They're paying foreign banks instead of keeping their own people alive. Zambia defaulted on $17 billion in debt. Sri Lanka defaulted for the first time in its history. The government ran out of money for fuel and medicine. People stormed the presidential palace. Pakistan came dangerously close. Ghana, Kenya, Egypt, Tunisia, all teetering on the edge. And circling above them, China. Since 2013, China has lent $1 trillion to 150 countries through its Belt and Road Initiative. Ports, railways, power plants. Sounds generous, right? But here's the dark side. Many countries can't pay back these loans. And when they default, China doesn't just forgive the debt. They take control of the assets. In 2017, Sri Lanka couldn't repay its loans for the Hambantota port project. So China took a 99-year lease on the port and 15,000 acres of surrounding land. Djibouti owes China 77% of its GDP. Pakistan owes China $30 billion. Montenegro borrowed $1 billion, 25% of its GDP, for a single highway. When they couldn't pay, they had to ask the EU for a bailout to avoid losing sovereignty. This is the modern form of colonialism, debt imperialism. You don't need to invade a country. Just lend them money they can't repay, then take what you want when they default. And what happens when confidence breaks? In 2008, Lehman Brothers collapsed. Credit markets froze. Banks stopped lending to each other. Governments had to step in with $12 trillion in bailouts worldwide just to keep banks afloat. Now imagine an entire country defaulting. Not Greece, something bigger. Italy with $3.2 trillion in debt. Or Japan with $14.8 trillion. The shock would cascade through the global financial system like dominoes falling. Print your way out? Venezuela tried. By 2019, 9,586% inflation. Coffee that cost 2,300 bolivars in the morning could cost you 6,000 by afternoon. People carried bags of cash for bread. Zimbabwe did the same thing in 2008, reaching an inflation rate of 79.6 billion% per month. They eventually abandoned their currency entirely and started using US dollars. You can't cheat math. Print money, lose your currency. Stop borrowing, collapse your economy. There's no escape hatch. The lesson is clear. There's no easy escape from debt. So, who does the world owe? The answer? You, me, your neighbor.
Hi!
We owe each other. We owe ourselves. Your savings, your pension, your insurance, all part of this massive loop. The system works until it doesn't, because debt is built on one thing: trust. Which is why China, Russia, India, Turkey, they're all stockpiling gold, preparing for when that trust breaks. Right now, global debt increases by $100,000 every second. So here's what you should really be asking. If the system runs on trust and everyone's borrowing from everyone else, what happens the day we stop trusting each other? Not a villain, not a secret group. It owes you, and you owe it.